Welcome to the Art and Science of Complex Sales. This is a podcast where we explore how the best B2B sales leaders make the complex simple, drive relationships and revenue, and generally elevate the sales profession. In this podcast, we're bringing together sales experts, thought leaders, top account executives, buyers, industry insiders, all to share their experiences and best practices for navigating the complex sales cycle. So whether you're a seasoned sales professional, a sales leader, or just starting out, you're going to find practical insights and actionable advice that you can apply to your own sales journey. Plus, we have a bit of fun. In this week's episode, we're joined by the one and only Mario Martinez Jr., straight from the heart of San Francisco. Mario's a powerhouse in sales innovation, bringing over 27 years of experience. He went from a humble start as a lab tech at Ritz Camera to becoming one of the leading voices in sales strategy today. He is here to share a remarkable story about how he turned a simple philosophy, sales is the art of helping, into an extraordinary career and multiple successful companies. So get ready for an insightful and high-energy discussion that's packed with actionable insights on prospecting, human-assisted AI, and why the referral should be your number one prospecting step. Let's get started with Mario. Mario Martinez Jr., all the way from San Francisco, California. Welcome to the Art and Science of Complex Sales. How are you?
Mr. Paul Fuller, I couldn't be more excited to be here with you today. I am very excited and juiced. Thank you so much.
You called me Mr. I guess I called you Mr. too, but that's a little formal for me, so I don't know.
All good. Hey, we friends, Mr. Mario, buddy, whatever you want. I'm good.
Call me. Yeah, just don't. I would have said call me P Did, but don't call me P Did anymore.
We may not want to use that name for a little
while.
while.
I had to change all my tags to P Dad because it doesn't. It doesn't work.
Yeah.
Hey, well, thank you so much for coming on. I'm pumped for this. And why don't, just for the sake of the audience, if you take, I don't know, a couple minutes, just a little bit about how you got in this crazy world of sales and your current spot in the world of sales.
Oh, man. Thanks for asking that question. So how I got into sales. First off, I've been selling for now, this is my 27th consecutive year in sales and marketing. And yes, it's 27. So I actually got started when I was 19 years old in B2B software sales. And I started out as a then telemarketer, now called SDR, BDR, and I was doing part-time. So how I actually got there, rewind a little bit backwards. And that was actually related to the fact that I was working at a retail camera center. Now, you might be old enough, Paul, to know the retail camera centers called Ritz Camera Centers.
Oh, yeah.
Yep. Where we used to go take our 35 millimeter film and we'd give it to them and they'd print out our 4x6 photos. People are probably listening in, especially our younger generation. They're saying 35 millimeter film. What's that? So I was actually a photo finisher there at Ritz Camera Centers on a part-time basis. And in order to pay for my first year at college, or for any year at college at that matter, I actually had to work. So I got accepted to UC Berkeley and I was working at Ritz Camera Centers. I only had enough money to apply for one college when I was a senior in high school, and it cost $40 per application, and we had $41 to my family. And so I wrote a check for $40 out of the $41 that we had. It was all or nothing. So I got in, crazy as I may sound, and I figured out when I got in that I needed to pay for all this. So I came up with this plan, and the plan was I would apply for thousands upon thousands of scholarships, being Latino descent and also an honor student, and doing quite well both in lettering and football and everything else. So I applied to over 250 scholarships to have my first $15,000 for year one paid for. All right, great. So I said, well, what I need to do is I need to work now my first year while I'm going to school so I can pay for my second year. So I applied to become a photo finisher at the Ritz Camera Centers in Berkeley. And it was funny because our district manager, his name was Hunter Anderson. And I have no idea if Hunter's alive or not. That was many years ago. But he had this toupee that literally sat on his head. And it was, the worse than the Donald Trump, comb over. And no statement against politics now. Just that's the kind of division.
The comb over.
Yeah, the comb over. It just sat there, and you could see the bobby pins on the side of the head holding this thing in. It was just the funniest thing. to see. So anyways, he came in and he said, "Hey, Mario, can I talk to you for a moment?" And I said, "Sure." So he brought me over. He opened up his big, a binder. And in those days, there was no electronic anything. You had to have printouts. And if you recall, we used to print on a machine that had like the perforated holes all throughout the top, so you can, put them in, and then the binder would close down on them. So he basically says, "I'm looking at the numbers here, and I'm confused." And I said, "Confused about what?" And he goes, "Well, I'm confused over the numbers. Look at the data right here." And consistently, month after month, every month, I was in the top 3 or top 5. I think it was top 5 in some months, but mostly top 3 of sales for the entire region. But no, that I was not a salesperson. I was a photo finisher. And so I used to wear the white lab coat, print the pictures, and of course, we were a shop that majority of people who did sales also did photo finishing, but we primarily did photo finishing. Someone come in and I'd bring them up. So any case, so he says, "I'm confused over, how you have this much in sales." And I said, "Well, I don't know. What exactly are you confused over?" He's like, "I don't know how you would actually do it." And I was like, "Are you insinuating that I am cheating the system? Like, I'm confused. I don't understand. Like, what are you trying to get at here?" And I got, somewhat defensive. And he's like, whoa, slow down. No reason to get defensive, right? And so I'm like, "Well, what are you asking about? I don't get it." And he goes, "Well, tell me how you're selling so much." I said, just offering people some stuff." And he was like, no, walk me backwards. So interestingly enough, as a photo finisher, one of the things that we did is we would print these photos off the negatives, and they would come through. And as they came through, certain pictures that were bad, meaning like the ones where Johnny's running on the field, right, and it's all blurry, I would take all the bad pictures and I'd put them on top. Now, our policy was never to do that at Risk Camera Centers, but I did it because I wanted the person to see that as soon as they left, they would always inevitably come back in and they would complain about, "Well, you didn't print my pictures right." So I just stopped, like, "Okay, that's enough." So I'll take all the bad ones, put them on the top. And then as soon as they open the box to validate, because we always say, pull out the box, "Are these your pictures?" And they were like, "Oh, Johnny, we didn't get Johnny running football or playing, basketball." And so I would say, yeah, unfortunately, it's because, you weren't using the right camera. You didn't have the right speed of film. You didn't have the right exposure. And so he would like, "Okay, and then I said, well, then I would just ask the customer, "Are you going to be taking pictures like this all the time, or is this kind of a one-time thing?" They're like, "Well, no, yeah, we're going to be taking pictures, like this a lot." And I would say, "Oh, well, in that case, what type of camera do you have?" And they would tell me the camera, and I'd say, "Oh, unfortunately, that's the wrong type of camera." And then they would say, "Well, what type of camera do I need?" And then I would say, "Oh, well, in order to take these types of pictures like this, or for this setting or that type, you need to have," and I would show them the camera. And they were like, "Well, how much does that cost?" And then I would, let them know. And now I'm the guy who's in the lab coat that has the white coat, right? So I'm not the sales guy with the tie on like the sales folks used to wear. So immediately, all of a sudden, people would trust me because I'm the printing guy, right? That's what I am. I'm the printing guy. And this whole process was taking place. And then they would say, "Well, okay, well, how much is that camera?" And I would say, "It's X amount of dollars." And they'd be like, "Oh, that's too expensive." And I said, "Well, then you can go with this one, and that'll get you pretty darn close. Or if you really are concerned, if you one up this and go to this level, then all of these and all these different surroundings, like the nighttime, the this, the that." Yeah. So inevitably, I would sell cameras all the time, cameras. And of course, with the camera, you need a bag. So I'd sell a bag. And then, of course, with the bag, you'd need film. And I would say, in order for this to work with this type of camera, you got to have this type of film. So I'd sell the film. And then, of course, I'd sell the batteries. Of course, at Ritz Camera Centers, you'd buy the batteries, but they were $5 more than you'd get them at, Safeway or Lucky's or something like that. And then at the closing, the clincher was, I'd ringing everything up. And we were prompted to ask about the warranty. And I'd say, "Hey, by the way, do you want the warranty?" "Oh, I'm not sure. No, I don't really think so." And I'd like, "Listen, yeah, just to be clear, this warranty is like one of the best warranties there are out there. If you drop it, accidental breakage," and it was like almost the first of its kind for Ritz Camera Centers. You did anything to it, you dropped, you broke it, you shattered in pieces, bring the pieces back. We replace the whole darn thing for you, or we fix it if we can't. We'd fix it or we replace the whole darn thing for you. And so because I'm the lab coat guy, people would always lean over and they'd say, Like, is it really worth it? Because I know most warranties don't. And I would always say, yeah, it actually really is worth it. And the reason is because, and I would give them all these examples. You ever been at the field and all of a sudden you dropped your, whatever, phone, something, drop something into the mud? Yeah. That's how sand on the beach. That's right. And they'd be like, yeah, that's true. All right. What's the cost? And there was a 1, 3, and 5 year. And so I'd always go with, by the way, how old are your kids? Oh, they're like, 9, 10, 11. I'm like, okay, so you have another 8 years with them, or at least, yeah, you probably want the 5 year. That's all I was doing. Right.
That's awesome.
So little did I know, I told this whole story, and Hunter's standing there and he's looking at me. He's like, and he's got his arm, one arm up like this on his face, and he's looking at me. And he goes, so basically, what you're telling me is all you're doing is simply helping a customer. And I said, yeah, I guess so. That's really all I'm doing. And he goes, wow, interesting. Well, I've got good news and I've got bad news. Which one do you want first? And I said, bad news. I'm always the bad news type of guy first. Mm-hmm. And he goes, bad news. Well, the bad news is I can't approve your transfer. And my heart just sank. It went right down in my stomach. And I thought, oh my God, that was my plan. How am I going to pay for my second year? No, I need this job. And I immediately went into panic mode. Like, Hunter, bro, like, dude, you got to approve me. He's like, sorry, that we don't have enough positions for the photo finishing there in Berkeley. And I'm like, no, Hunter, I need this. I can't commute back here to Concord. It's too much. And he's like, hold on, you didn't ask for the good news yet. You forgot about the good news. And I said, well, what's the good news? And he goes, I can't approve you as a photo finisher because you're not a photo finisher. What you are is a salesperson. And I'm going to approve you to go and you're going to make $1.50 more per hour as a salesperson and plus commissions. And I want you to work in Berkeley, which is our second highest producing store in the whole entire region. And that's what I'm going to do. And I was like, yeah, baby, $1.50 more. Let's go. So long-winded answer to how I got into sales was because Hunter Anderson gave me this cardinal saying, which I used when I was asked by Salesforce to be part of their sales documentary, and they selected 20 influencers. I was privileged to be one of those. And my famous line that I said inside of the story of sales was the same one that Mark Benioff introduced at Dreamforce in 2020, I think it was. And he introduced me and this clip of the video. And the famous line was, sales is the art of helping. And that's where I got it from, was from my dear friend Hunter Anderson, who I never spoke to after I left Ritz Camera. I have no idea if the man is still living, most likely not, but that is how I got into sales. And from there, I got into my first B2B sales job, which I was selling a marketing newsletter as an intern to leasing companies that were interested in auto finance leasing. And I worked there for 9 months. And then that landed me my first telemarketing job in a B2B software company, of which by the time I was 21 years old, I was full-time work, part-time school, and I was making 6 figures. And I bought my first house in San Francisco Bay Area at 21 years old. And that's my story. And it was all because Hunter Anderson said, you're not a photo finisher. You are a salesperson, and all you're doing is helping customers.
You got to find out if Hunter Anderson is still around, and you got to send the man a bouquet or at least a box of chocolates.
No doubt. I mean, he was probably in his late 50s, early 60s back then. So that was, about 30 years ago. Possibly.
That would be cool. That would be cool. So you turned that advice into an awesome career. That's brilliant. And one of the things that we do that I love is we help a lot of people focus on coaching up performance and salespeople. So how do we help them drive performance? How do we help them get better? And the best sales coaches and the best sales managers are the ones you get stories like that all the time. And it's so cool. I mean, it's what a privilege, right? And so you took that Hunter Anderson advice and you nailed it. You made a career out of it. And now where is the spot today that you're sitting in sales, and how are you helping the industry?
Great question. So let's fast forward many years across my sales career. I had the privilege of being able to serve literally every single segment and industry, from telecom to service to consulting to software to SaaS to infrastructure as a service, going from public sector to federal to small business to global accounts, managing up to $300 million span of control, hundreds of salespeople. I've had the privilege of having all of that experience, and I'm very happy that I had that opportunity to be able to serve, and I was moved around so many different times inside of the organization. And interestingly enough, I tell this story, and I know there's a lot of folks that utilize various different training methodologies, but at the age of 21, when I really entered into true B2B sales as not a telemarketer, but actually doing true B2B sales, I knew there was a major deficiency that I had in my repertoire. And as a 21-year-old, I was in a market where most of the average reps that I was selling with were about minimum 28, average about 35 years old. So they usually had about 10 to 15 years worth of experience on top of me. And here I am, the newest guy on the block, people taking risks and chances because I told, probably great stories, right? To these stories. I decided that I was going to write a check for $7,000 to go get myself trained back then through the Miller Heiman Sales Training Program. And the Miller Heiman Sales Training Program, that's, for those of you who know it, is the green sheets, the blue sheets, those types of things, right? So I was 21 years old, wrote a check for the Miller Heiman Sales Training Program. Now, fast forward now to about 4 years ago, or sorry, let's say 5 years ago. 5 years ago, I got an email from the executive assistant of the CEO of Miller Heiman Sales Training Company. It said, hey, the CEO of Miller Heiman wants to actually meet with you, Vengresso, which we had built up a reputation as the then largest digital sales prospecting training company globally. We had trained 100,000 plus folks going through our program. It was really awesome in terms of what we were able to do, focusing in on three things: digital, LinkedIn, video, messaging. That's all we did, and that's all we focused on. So I got an email from the executive assistant. Are you available on this date and time? I said, yes. We went to breakfast. I kid you not, no lie, true story, on a napkin. First time ever in my career. We put an X on the napkin with a line, and both of us signed the napkin. That we got our first engagement of selling to Miller Heiman Sales Training Company, which then turned into, a few months later, you know what? We're actually going to procure your entire sales prospecting training program, and we're going to deploy it across the whole entire globe. And for the first time in 43-year history, Miller Heiman hired an outside sales training company, and it was Vengresso. And little did I know that $7,000 investment at 21 years old, me sitting in Concord, California at the Crown Plaza, I remember it, in the big ballroom, learning how to do white sheets, blue sheets, like this whole account mapping and strategy, which we use a lot of these things today, right? In terms of economic buyer influencers, those types of things. That fast forward all these years, that Vengresso would become such a dominant name in sales prospecting training, and that we would have the world's largest then sales training company actually hire us to be able to bring that to market. And so that I tell that story because I know everybody, you guys have sales training and methodology, and that's amazing, from Membrane as well, and all of your different coaches that you have in the organization. Not to talk about Miller Heiman. To talk about was they were really missing something, and that was the mark. And it was centered around, how do I engage to today's modern buyer? Now, let's tap onto this word modern buyer, modern digital buyer. And if we think about the challenges that are facing all of our salespeople today, it's pretty much the number one thing that people will say, the hardest part about selling is not anything but prospecting. In fact, we did a study 4 times now. The last study we did was 1,295 respondents from all over the globe, from every segment, from small business to large organizations. And we asked, what's the hardest part about selling? We gave them 4 options. 69% of all sellers reported that getting the first meeting is the hardest part. So if you think about the whole spectrum of sales training, you've got the pre-hello to the hello, and then you've got hello to the close. Arguably, we spend 70% of our time here in the hello to close. But you can't get the 70% unless you spend the 30% here. And this part right here is the hardest part of selling today. Why? Enter COVID and everything went digital. Post-COVID, I was just on a webinar listening to various different technology companies that are out there that are doing email marketing and email messaging instantly, as an example, and some of the other ones that are out there. And someone asked, what's a good open rate, engagement rate? And they answered, on an engagement rate, if you're getting 1% engagement on your messages, you're actually doing good.
Yes.
And I thought, how pathetic is that number? So for every 100 messages that I send out, I get one person that actually says, I'm interested, or tell me more, or even no thanks. Right. And by the way, that 1%, that's called engagement. It doesn't mean that the engagement is actually good. Like they could say, screw off, no thanks, don't talk to me. And I thought, oh my God, 1%. What has this world come to where we're excited about 1%? And that's almost just as bad as the cold call. If you think about this, the cold call, less than 3%. So I call 100 people, I'll get 3 people on the phone. Just today, no joke, I'm going to tell you right now, live and happening right here. Just today, in my recent calls, I'm looking at my phone for those who are looking at it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 missed phone calls. 15 missed phone calls. Not because I don't want to talk to people. It's because I am not interested in taking a cold call. So we think about this. Our email volume went up from last year to this year. I think the number that I recently heard was by almost 50 billion more emails. Google and Microsoft have cracked down in February of 2024 on getting those emails delivered and reaching out. Vingresso, our own ability to be able to send an email. I used to get easy 30% open rates and at least 20% click-through and engagement rates. Super high. I'd be lucky if I get a 20% open rate and a 2% engagement rate, right? Now, I'm not saying those channels are dead, because the reality is I still get people coming in from those channels. You still have to do it. But now we have to be thinking about how to engage with our target buyer in a much different way. And here's the key. It's all about the omni-channel. So you better, if you're calling on Paul Fuller, you better make sure that you are touching him both on email and on voice and through LinkedIn and with video and through a text message and through live events. And you better be approaching him with a hyper-personalized message as well as with value. And hyper-personalized does not mean, oh, I saw that you live in San Francisco, California. I'm sorry that it's raining over there today. No, that's what AI does.
I got one recently. This was brilliant. The title of it was Bear Down, and it said, I saw you went to the University of Arizona. My product does XYZ. Damn it! You're so close. Just come on. Just ask me a question about U of A or something. Come on,
and that's please. AI right there, right? That's AI. Yeah. I saw that you went to university because they're scraping your profile. I saw you went to the University of Arizona. Great, and connect the dots, and
you can do it. It's like I'm rooting for them.
At a minimum, you could. What's the Arizona mascot?
Yeah, Wildcats.
Wildcats. At a minimum, you could have wrote "Go Wildcats!" ! Yes. Maybe I might have thought, okay, he actually looked at this. Maybe, right? So that's where, one of the things that we teach inside of our sales prospecting program and what we've brought to market in terms of Fly Message as our technology solution is centered around how do you slice through the noise. And we teach what's called a PVC sales methodology. PVC, like pipe. Personalization, value, call to action, all in less than 111 words. And there's new data out there that indicates it should be around 80 words or less. I don't necessarily know if I'm sold on that, but at least 111 words and less. One click scroll up on a mobile device. And personalization means that you actually took the time to get to know Paul. Hey, Paul, one of the things I recently noticed on LinkedIn is that of all of your sellers that are part of Membrane, all of them have one consistent problem. In fact, 77% of them are not engaging on LinkedIn correctly. Were you aware of this major problem? And then you would go on to add value. The value piece is directly below is an article that most VPs of sales share with their team. And it has 2 1-hour training videos all around how to actually get your buyer to engage back with your sellers. Would you like to book more appointments? If so, I'd love to be able to schedule a time with you. How do these 3 dates and times look? That was the call to action. Would you like to schedule more appointments? Question mark. You either answering yes or no. If you say no, you're not a prospect for me, so blow off. But if you say yes, now it's time to be able to go to the next level, which is let's book a meeting. Let's book an appointment, right? And that whole personalization there is, it means you have to take time to think. Can AI do some thinking for you? Yes. In fact, Fly Message has this whole entire AI model that we actually are writing LinkedIn comments and LinkedIn thought leadership posts for a seller. Does that mean that it's smart enough, that it understands contextual relevance to a conversation that you may have had that's not documented there? Mm-hmm. Does it understand more than just that post? No, it can be very two-dimensional. And that's where the human brain comes in, where I'm a big champion of human-assisted AI. Human-assisted AI. Because if I could make a sales rep bot do everything that I want, I don't need you as a seller. And that's what we have to understand. And recently, I saw a seller responded back to one of our emails, and I wanted to write back, bro, you're going to fail in sales. That's what I want to write back. Because he writes back and says, great tool, been using it, love it to death. Unfortunately, my corporation won't buy this for me. Therefore, I cannot continue to use it. And
I thought, to write that to a guy that bought his own Miller Hyman training,
boom, right there. Boom. Are you kidding me? On average, I spent $200 a month in the direct selling process and B2B sales with my own tools and technology that I would buy personally, because guess what? The organization is not going to buy everything that is going to make your life better. And that's where I think a lot of reps get tripped up on, especially our younger generation. You are owed nothing other than, here's the core infrastructure tool. Now go figure out what it takes to be successful. And if that means you need to buy something to make yourself better, whether it's working with your guys' program on uplifting your guys' sales training through, or uplifting your sales acumen through sales training, you do it. If it means you buy Fly Message or any other product out there on your own as a product-led growth solution to help, I don't know, save 20 hours a month, and help you engage with the buyer and let them get a response back, then bro, do that. You better do it. So anyways, nonetheless, sales prospecting, long-winded answer to your question of big problem today, big, huge challenge, and a monumental Herculean effort for a seller to be able to engage and get buyers' attention.
I just came from a conference, and one of the presenters is called the Unicorn of Prospecting, and she's actually brilliant at it. She gets roughly around, on her phone calls themselves, she gets about a 40% conversation rate. And that's just people, that's her dials to conversation rate.
Wow.
And they were talking about how on earth to do it. And quite frankly, you're discussing many of the things that she executed upon, which is omnichannel, multi-touch, come to serve, get to know, right? And all of those things, I like it. She also uses AI in a lot of the stuff she does. But I call it, you said it's a human-assisted artificial intelligence. I have this theory. I just call it real intelligence. Right. So we have to use our real intelligence to drive and to think about how we're going to use these tools, because it's not the people that don't have AI that are not going to win. It's the people that don't know how to effectively use them to connect person to person that aren't going to win. I don't know. What's your opinion on that? Because I know you're in the realm. There's a lot of this realm of how we get things automated, how we get the best information, but it comes down to how do we have that conversation?
So you smash together human-assisted AI, right? The AI that's coming with the real AI, right? Your intelligence, bring those two worlds together, bring them together, and that's where you get actual real results. And it's funny because I'm actually, one of the things that we do as well for our larger enterprise clients is we actually help them with their cadences and their outbound. And it's funny, every single time, anybody that's listening right now, I don't care if you've got 5 people, I don't care if you've got 50 people in the company, doesn't matter. If your first step in a cadence is not referral, your cadence is wrong. Let's think about this for a second. If your first step is not referral, your cadence is wrong. Flat out. I'll go toe-to-toe with anyone. Please message me after you've heard the podcast with Paul. You want to go toe-to-toe with me? I'll put a whole webinar around it, and you and I will battle. We'll make it a big social media splash. Paul will be our host of the webinar. I will battle you. Here's why. 84% of all buyers start their buying process with a referral. What does that mean? It literally means that XO, CIOC, EOC, SOC, ROC, MOC, OO, you fill in the blank. Everybody says, here we go. Hey, John with company ABC, that's my friend over there, that's my peer. Hey, buddy. Hey, ma'am. What are you doing to solve da. That's what it starts with. And then they say, oh, man, we've been using such and such and such and such. Worst thing ever. Or greatest thing of all time. Do you want me to introduce you? Now think about it this way. Paul, I do this all the time. Here at my own house. Whenever I'm looking for, let's just call it the bathroom repair guy. Like I don't got somebody. What do you think that I do with the 15, 20 neighbors that I have inside my neighborhood? What do you think is the first thing I do?
Pull it out. I do the same thing. Pull it out, send a text. Hey, I'm having some issues with the plumbing. Who do you got?
100%. We have a WhatsApp group for our neighborhood here, right? And anybody who needs anything, every single time, someone just had their sewage line back up and they said, hey, does anybody have a better option than Roto-Rooter, right? Because it's way too expensive. And the guy came out here, didn't even know what he was talking about. And he actually tried snaking my toilet from the inside of the toilet. And he said, this has got to be wrong. So I wrote back, actually, had the same problem myself, found this great company, been working with them. What do you think he did? Called them up. What do you think happened? Used them, right? So we actually start that individual buying process. Anytime we want to buy a new, whatever it is, a phone, we ask our buddy who got the first time, or we ask our friend, hey, what did you do? And they tell us, oh, I did. Wow, let me take a look at that. And you look at theirs. So why do we think on the consumer buying process that we don't buy this way on the business buying process? We shouldn't think that way. And in fact, the data shows us whether you're a millennial, whether you are a Gen Xer, or whether you're a baby boomer, at least 85% of us are using some sort of digital channel to be able to do research prior to reaching out to a software vendor or to a vendor of any sort to solve their problem. So we've got to look at reverse engineering the referral process. The first thing that we do in every cadence that we set up for every customer is, number one, have your rep follow that particular buyer on LinkedIn. That also happens to be the very last step in the cadence, which normally if you're doing a long workflow, it's going to be about 20 to 22 steps in that process. Why? Because it takes on average 15 to 18 touch points to be able to get a cold prospect to engage with you. So first step, follow them. Why do I say follow on LinkedIn? Provided that they're on LinkedIn. Hello? This is where the immaturity of a sales leader comes in because we don't know the digital channels. Here's the answer. If I follow you, Paul, on LinkedIn, within about 24 hours, LinkedIn will send you, Paul, a nice, beautiful little message that says, Mario Martinez Jr. has followed you. Answer me this question, Paul. What percentage of spam filters block LinkedIn.com? 0 or 100%?
0.
The world's largest social media company is whitelisted across every single spam filter with 100% deliverability rate. Even Vengresso, that companies like Salesforce, Oracle, they come to us to get a backlink from our domain. Even Vingresso.com, I do not get 100% deliverability, but LinkedIn at LinkedIn.com does. So why on God's green earth would you not want to let LinkedIn do the selling for you? And here's the best part. On that email, it shows my picture, my headline, my name, and the first 11 words of any comment message or anything that I've done for them. Now, if it's a follow, it's going to show just my headline on there, the first 11 words of the headline. Let them. But this means that when we think about how to engage with our buyers, that we better think about making our reps look sexy online. And that's why we've done tens of thousands of LinkedIn profiles, because most of our LinkedIn profiles that are out there, they say, quota crushing sales rep, all-time best negotiator, 30-time sales president's club winner, because they're all promoting it as a resume. That's not what our buyers are looking for. And you definitely don't want that to be your first impression. And so we've got to start with, how do we transform our profiles to speak to who we help, how we help, and the business problem we solve? Then we start our cadence with a follow. Right after that follow, it's the referral. And why are we looking for the referral? We're looking to see, who do we know that knows somebody inside that organization? And oh, by the way, what if I have a lot of people in my company? Well, you better go out there and fund some sort of LinkedIn Sales Navigator license and get everybody on TeamLink so that you can get the collective population of your entire company that can get hopefully someone to refer you into that person. And that right there, case in point, beginning of the year, I got 13 introductions. Within 48 hours, I had 4 meetings booked. 13 introductions. Now, how many emails would I had to have sent to have gotten
4,000? Yeah, no, probably 12. Probably 12,000.
Yeah, the number is astronomically large, right? Just to get an engagement, I got to send out 100 just to get an engagement. But to book a meeting?
Oh, it's ridiculous.
You got to start with the referral. And I cannot tell you, if I lined up 100 CROs and said, tell me the first step in your cadence, 99 of them will be wrong. And that's the sad part. So sales leaders, if you're listening in, go back. First step, you better follow. And by the way, add that as a last step, which is unfollow, because you don't want to pollute your LinkedIn feed with people that are not going to be responsive, right? And by the way, follow is different than saving in Sales Navigator. Follow is different than Sales Navigator on saving. So you better start with a follow, and you better start it with a referral. And we have a whole entire, if you want to actually read and watch something on the referral and how to do that, just go to YouTube and type in Vingresso, Vengreso, referral or sales referral Vingresso, and you'll see all of our content, including a great 13-minute training video on how to go about asking for the referral. It's a 2-step process. I give you the templates, and they're actually all contained inside of flymsg.io.
That is awesome. Well, thank you so much, Mario. This has been awesome and brings a ton of value to all the listeners out there. How do people get in touch with you or your team if they want to hear more?
Well, first off, you can try FlyMessage. It's free to try. No credit card collected. FlyMSG.ai, FlyMSG.io. You could also go to Vingresso.com. Vingresso is the creators of FlyMessage. It's kind of like Meta and Facebook. Same exact company, same thing. So FlyMSG, we call it FlyMessage. And then, of course, if you reach out to me on LinkedIn, please, dear God, please do not send me just a generic connection request to connect. Please tell me that you heard me on Paul Fuller's Membrane podcast here. And that is the way that you're going to get me to engage back with you.
There we go. Rock on. And I hope people that are even that are trying to connect and they're trying to prospect anything like that with Mario, make sure you do that. Absolutely. I have a guy by the name of Dave Brock, great sales trainer, amazing. He put out literally on LinkedIn a post that said, here is how to engage with me if you'd like. And like it got, thousands and thousands of views. There was like 3 people that took him up on it. 3 people. So Mario's getting you a way in. One, if you're prospecting, but also please do take him up on the offer to learn more about this. This is fantastic stuff. Any final thoughts for the audience today?
I'll close with this. Remember, sales is the art of helping.
Mike got dropped. Thank you so much. And everybody, Please make sure that you like, subscribe, you share. Let's get this wisdom and knowledge out to the rest of the sales world. This is stuff that is absolutely critical for people to understand and to make sure that they are helping each other, they're lifting each other up. So keep shining bright and have an amazing, amazing day. We'll talk soon. Hey, everybody. Thank you. Thank you for listening to this episode of The Art and Science of Complex Sales. I hope today's conversation provided you with valuable insights and practical ideas to help you and your team elevate the profession and succeed in today's complex world. This podcast is brought to you by Membrane.com. Membrane is a B2B growth platform for CEOs, sales leaders, and sales executives who are committed to sustainable growth and change. If you enjoyed this episode, do us a favor, like, subscribe, share it with your network. Your support really helps us bring more valuable insights from the best in the business straight to you. Also, check us out at Membrane.com. We're more than a technology. Membrane equips your teams with the expert coaches and trainers, amazing sales methodologies, process, people, and tools to continually improve and coach results. More than a CRM. It's a network, and it's designed to help your team execute with confidence, smash goals, and overall up your sales game. So we'll see you next time for another episode of The Art and Science of Complex Sales. And until then, as always, keep shining bright.